Do we still need trade shows? Do we still need SD cards? Do we still need limited edition cameras? Do we need 30 days to test a camera before buying? And do we still need parades? This week on Take's Take.
Thanks so much for tuning in for another episode of Photography Radio. My name is Tomasz and today you are listening to Take's Take with Take Kayo, where he covers what's new and interesting in the world of photography, including digital, analog, mobile, and everything in between. Enjoy.
Can you imagine your life without photography? No? Then you will love this show. And it doesn't matter if you're a DSLR, a mirrorless, or a mobile phone shooter. We're here to help your photography grow. This is Photography Radio.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Take's Take, which is my take on photography news this week. So let's begin now. Are trade shows dying? Photokina is the world's largest photographic imaging trade show held in Germany with its humble beginnings way back in 1950. Now, since the 1960s, Photokina was held once every other year, but for 2020 and moving forwards, they announced that it would be an annual event, with this coming year's show being held from May 27th to the 30th, 2020. The problem? Fujifilm, Leica, Nikon, and Olympus have all announced that they wouldn't be participating. Now, a quote from Fujifilm, they said, "We will continue to engage with our customers through other avenues, including hands-on, interactive events, increasing opportunities to demonstrate the outstanding value and capability of our products and services directly to users, and strengthening the digital presence of our products. The number one priority for Fujifilm is and always will be our customers, and we will continue to make decisions based on the best ways to engage with our community." So according to Fujifilm, they don't need this trade show to help promote their products. But the biggest and the most powerful brands, Sony, Canon, and Panasonic, will be present at Photokina. But this does seem to point to a future where many manufacturers, especially some of the smaller ones, will leverage newer and perhaps cheaper platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, and podcasts such as this to reach a larger global audience when launching new products. And so what do you think? Are trade shows dying or are they still thriving? An old format battle restarted, secure digital versus compact flash. Memory card format wars for the mainstream camera market has been over since the mid-2000s. Previously, there were many memory type cards, CF, which is compact flash, SD, which is secure digital, MMC, Sony memory stick, XD cards. Do you remember any of these ones? But they were all vying for that consumer digital market. And the SD card has long been the standard, but many industry insiders, including memory card manufacturers, well, they're saying that the SD card standard dominance will eventually fade away. The new CF Express cards, they come in Type A, B, and C formats, with the Type B already existing and being backwards compatible with Sony's XQD cards, and will probably take over the mainstream camera market in the coming years. Canon has already released two new devices with these higher capacity and higher speed cards, the new Canon 1D X Mark III and the C500 Mark III cinema camera. The CF Express cards have theoretical speeds of 1 gigabit per second per lane, with Type B having 2 lanes, Type C having 4 lanes, with up to 8 possible lanes per card, or 8 gigabit per second theoretical speeds. Now, the CF Express Type B cards that are currently available already have read speeds of up to 1700 megabits per second and 1400 megabits per second write speeds. Now, although these industry insiders are saying that SD cards won't disappear overnight, but as these newer digital cameras need faster and larger capacity memory cards, it looks like from a manufacturer's perspective that the majority of manufacturers are currently looking to invest into the CF Express standard to lead the way into the future. So we'll see how all of this plays out in the marketplace in the coming years. But I think it's still safe to say that most cameras in the next year or so that aren't at the higher end of the market will still use SD cards. But who knows, in the future, perhaps there will be no more removable memory cards. Everything will be just built into the camera. So we'll see what happens. Last week, Leica announced the Ghost edition of the M10-P, and this week they announced another limited edition, which is the White. Limited edition Leica M10-P White to a limit of 350 units. Now, it is white paint on both the top and bottom plate, which is made out of brass, and with a white leatherette covering the body itself. It is a beautiful camera, and it does come with a limited edition silver chrome 50mm Summilux with white lettering that matches the body beautifully. It comes with a white leather strap and a white leather case. So it has this minimalist, you better make sure your hands are clean when you're picking up this camera. Now, in terms of the price, a regular M10-P is already $8,000 and a regular 50mm Summilux is already $4,000. So for $12,000 is what you're going to pay for an M10-P and a 50mm Summilux. So for $14,500, so a $2,500 premium, you are getting a limited edition camera. So it is in line with their current pricing, which is still astronomical for the average photographer. Now, those of us who are determined to buy an M10 version at some point, I think that an ME version will probably come out in a year or two away. So if you can't wait for that, or if that's still too much for you, I would suggest for you to buy an M9 and just paint it white. In the last year or so, Nikon has really been pushing their new mirrorless cameras. And from a review standpoint, there's been very positive reviews on the Z series, the Z6, the Z7. And now they have the DX sizing or the APS-C size censored Z50. And Nikon USA has announced this new yellow program. Now, what does that yellow program mean? Well, it means that they will let you test the camera for 30 days, free of charge. Well, kind of. What they do is that they will ship to you for free and return back if you decide after 30 days that you don't want to buy it. Now, some of the conditions is, of course, you have to buy it first and they will refund you the money back later. And you can only do this through the Nikon store. So unfortunately, at this time, it doesn't include any of the Nikon retailers. Now, this try it before you buy program is not new in the photo industry. Fujifilm in various markets around the world, including in Canada, had a 3-day sort of try before you buy program for any body or any lens, which is great. But Nikon has taken it 10 times further with a 30-day program. And so perhaps this is the future of how to get cameras into the hands of people. We know that there is a decline in people buying dedicated cameras because of the smartphone. And we know that even a company like Apple, they have this 14-day return policy in most countries because they're confident that once you have their products in your hands that you wouldn't want to return it. So is this psychology or just good retail policy? Well, again, with shrinking sales, I think it is a good way to get cameras into people's hands. And in the literature, Nikon compares this Z50 image quality to smartphones. We can see who they're really targeting with the Z50 is those that currently don't own a dedicated digital camera and are perhaps thinking about getting into it. So it is a smart way of getting cameras into people's hands, but perhaps this will set a trend in the photo industry where manufacturers will allow people to actually handhold and test these cameras. And if they decide that they don't like it, they can return it for a full refund. I think this is a good thing for the photo industry. Finally, it's time for Photographer of the Week. And for this week, I've chosen Joel Meyerowitz. I was originally hesitant on choosing him because I thought, you know what, everybody knows who Joel is, but maybe not all of us know his history, where he came from. Now, Joel, who initially started off as an art director, he was seduced into photography after working with Robert Frank in 1962 for a booklet that he was designing for him. Initially, he said he was shy about shooting street photography, which seems odd because many of his street photos are very bold and strong. Yet he said he started off shy, so he shot parades because he said that he became invisible during these types of events. Now, when he started, he admired the work of Robert Frank, as mentioned, Henri Cartier-Bresson, as well as Eugene Auger. And he used these photographers as inspiration for his own photographic journey. But what he didn't realize was there was this very strong bias against color, and really a strong bias towards black and white photography, especially in the fine art world. Now, this is what Meyerowitz had to say about that. Quote, "In art photography, there was still this huge prejudice against color, as if only black and white were aesthetically justifiable," he recalls. "I never bought that. For me, color is essential. I instinctively felt I needed it to give my work force. Just as we have smell memories, we have color memories. I mean, the world is in color, right?" End of quote. Thank you for saying that, Joel. He also laments the days where people weren't glued to their smartphones and spent more time looking at one another. He said here, again, quote, "In the 1960s and 70s, you could look at my street photographs and trace lines from the eyes of people connecting with other people's eyes, setting up these force fields." Another great quote. For more images and insight into Joel Meyerowitz's photography, pick up his recent autobiographical photography book, which is kind of cool to put those two things together. It's called Where I Find Myself. And you could find this book at any major bookstore, or you can go to his website or to his Instagram account, both under his full name. So thanks for listening to this week's segment on my take of photography news. And next week, I'll have a special Take's Take, which is Gear of the Year. So don't forget to mark that on your calendar, or even easier, just subscribe to this podcast. Thanks for listening and happy shooting.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hit subscribe on your podcast app. It would mean a lot for us to have you as our regular listener. Head over to photographyradio.com to drop your suggestion for future editions of Photography Radio, or simply to say hello. We would absolutely love to hear from you. In the meantime, have a wonderful night, and we will be back with more photography in your ears very soon.